Welcome to our new post-game setup. We'll be testing this out all season. This is now the mobile Toro Hospital studio, and right now we are in Caesars Superdome after the Saints beat the Chiefs in their first preseason game, 26-24. I'm Brooke Kirchhofer alongside Nick Underhill and Mike Triplett, and we learned a lot about this team in the first preseason game, including seeing Derek Carr command the offense.
Yeah, he looked really good today. I was as impressed with him as I possibly could have been, but there's no trying. We are going to execute every single time from here because that's what we do. And you know who else executes? PJ's Coffee. Start your day every morning with them. They are our presenting sponsor. They will get you fueled up and ready to go every single day. And we are coming to you from our mobile Toro Hospital studio, as Brooke said. So if you have any medical needs, make sure you check them out. And if you need to get somewhere, go check out our guy, Matt Bowers. He will take care of you. They have car dealerships all over the Gulf Coast region. They do the best job selling cars anywhere in this area, so make sure you go and check them out. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out.
For fast relief coffee.
Mike Haas here. When the AC goes out and it's hot outside, every second counts. For over 40 years, Keefe's AC Heating and Electrical has helped thousands of families stay cool in the sizzling hot months. Keefe's Get You Cool in 3 hours or less guarantee is what our customers love the most. On the North or South Shore, call Keefe's. We'll get you cool in 3 hours or less guaranteed.
Keefe's Air Conditioning and Heating.
And now electrical.
For fast relief, call Keefe.
Moe's Barbecue is located in Metairie. They have your game day needs taken care of. Whether you're tailgating or watching the Black and Gold or LSU at home with friends, Moe's has you covered. Order pulled pork, wings, ribs, sides, and more. Come in with the family for lunch and dinner, as our kids' meals will please even the pickiest of eaters. Tailgating, parties at home, lunch and dinner, Moe's Barbecue will handle it all. Moe's Original Barbecue, 1101 North Causeway Boulevard between 48th and 49th Street in Metairie. Call 504-407-5333 for your catering order today. 504-407-5333. Moe's Original Barbecue in Metairie. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. You better call Botto if you need legal help with any of the following: car wrecks, offshore injuries, 18-wheeler collisions, maritime and Jones Act, hurricane and storm claims. You better call Botto at 504-323-7777 or 985-303-7777 for your free consultation and case review. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. All right, let's get into the show.
Let's get into our lead topic presented by Friend and Company Fine Jewelers. Go check out their new engagement salon, and while you're out there, check out their fleur-de-lis earrings and necklace that you see I have on now. They are specially priced for our NOF listeners. All right, we finally have game tape.
They look like
things
victory.
To review. Yes, it was a victory today over the reigning Super Bowl champs. I saw your tweet. So what does that make them, Mike?
Yeah, I can't remember if I'm getting this confused with pro wrestling or not, but I think the Saints are the champs now, right? Because they beat the Chiefs?
Yeah, I don't know.
How long was Pat Mahomes out on the field today?
He was on the field a lot. Every time the backup quarterbacks made a play, he was 20 yards on the field. That dude was excited to be here.
Love it. Well, we were excited to see Derek Carr. He proved that everything we are seeing in training camp isn't just some pipe dream. Like, he is the real deal under center and was able to prove several things. One, command the offense. Two, he proved that he is building chemistry with the wide receivers. He put that on display with Juwan Johnson and Michael Thomas. And three, that he can be the guy for the Saints. We know that's something they've been missing since Drew Brees left. So what did you guys think about him?
Well, it's the first thing I wrote about, and like I might be a freezing cold takes column that I wrote after today's story at some point, but I'm extremely optimistic, and I actually love the way that Carr put it. He said, yes, it was just one drive, but it's okay to get excited about that. And I broke down the specific things that I liked about it, which are, it's a reminder of what we've always liked about this team is the starting 11. We have concerns about their depth. They showed up in this game too. But the offensive line looked so crisp, and it's like, oh, yeah, those 5 guys are really good when they're healthy. And you're right about the chemistry. The chemistry is something we talk about a lot. We watch him work off to the side. But like that 3rd and 8 completion to Juwan Johnson, I talked to Juwan Johnson afterward. He was the last read on that play. And Carr got flushed from the pocket, found Juwan Johnson. Touchdown pass was to Keith Kirkwood. Like, they're showing that it did not look like a first time out for an offense.
Yeah, I like the 3rd down throw a whole lot. I thought that was his best moment of the game. And it wasn't even that he got flushed from the pocket. He climbed the pocket and hit the pass. And that's kind of been one of the issues with him. If you go and watch people that have, like, broken down his film, criticize him, it's his pocket presence is one of the things that they always kind of point out. I think kind of Carr adding this muscle is something that he's done so that he can stand in there and take hits a little bit and maybe correct that issue. We got to probably hear that from him, but it's just if you're trying to put 2 and 2 together, that would kind of be my first guess on that. But I thought that was a great throw. Then the throw to Mike Thomas, too. It was a beautiful throw. Mike was he was completely covered, and he hit the break on the throw, and Carr threw him a pass that, like, led him to the turf to get him off the coverage to where only Mike could catch it. I thought that was an outstanding moment, too.
Yeah, we're going to break down that play specifically a little bit later on in the show. But I know it's only kind of like a taste of Derek Carr because we only saw him in the one drive, but we are going to see live reps in Costa Mesa. So based on just the limited portion that we saw of Derek Carr, what do we now want to see from him in those live bullets when they get to Costa Mesa next week, this week?
I want to see 2 days of this. Just take it, extrapolate it, make it bigger. Keep doing it against different DBs. Keep showing the comfort. We aren't going to see the pass rush, I don't think. They aren't really going to be coming at them live. So, like that 3rd and 8 throw, it's a little bit different in the practice where you're not actually going to get hit. Like, he's climbing that pocket thinking, okay, I don't want to get hit. Let me get this pass out. In a practice, you don't have that adrenaline running the same way. But I just want to see more of this. It was about as good as it possibly could have been. I mean, 6 of 8. One of them was a drop by Olave. The other one was a tough, like, you're going for a high point back shoulder throw to Mike Thomas in the corner of the end zone, and the pass was just maybe just a touch too high, or maybe Mike's timing was a little bit off, but it was almost right there. The 2 misses, though, I mean, you can't even really put them on Carr.
Yeah, I don't. The Olave drop blows my mind because we have said on this show 16 practices, 16 times he's the best looking player out on the field. So that was just a blip on the radar. But the other incompletion didn't bother me at all because it was one of those, he threw it to where only one person could get to it, and he had downs to work with. They scored a touchdown on the next play. But what I liked about this is we've tried to, like, describe verbally for people what we've been seeing in practice, where we try to say how it just looks smooth. And I think people can see that on the field now. They're like, oh, that's what they mean by that. Like we did eventually see penalty, and Trevor Penning got called for the one false start, which was barely a little step. It wasn't anything egregious, but it wasn't clunky. It was smooth. They had a plan B and a plan C when plan A. You know, it wasn't just the stuff they drew up, and that was 3-step drop and throw. It just this is the smooth offense we've been talking about, and I liked seeing it translate onto the field.
It was smooth for Derek Carr. Not necessarily smooth for Jameis Winston and Jake Haener. I think a lot of that had to do specifically, let's start with Jameis Winston, is we had some concerns about who was going to be the 2s and 3s on the offensive line because there have been so many injuries. A lot of the guys that they brought in are no longer on the team. It was who's going to fill those holes, and I do think maybe that's why the Chiefs' 2s were able to get to Jameis Winston more than maybe they typically would. Was it more so Jameis was holding on to the ball, or he's still getting kind of used to working with the 2s? What did you read on that?
There were highs and lows, you know. Like, I thought the touchdown pass was beautiful. It was just, like, right over McDuffie's hand, and A.T. Perry made the catch and takes it in for the touchdown. That was an outstanding throw. Probably one of the best throws we're going to see the whole entire preseason. But, yeah, there were some other things. I thought he played himself into some sacks. There were a couple decisions. But overall, I think it was a Jameis Winston type of performance. I wasn't surprised by anything positively or negatively. You see the highs, you see the lows, and that's just kind of why he's in the position he's in.
Yeah, I mean, that, like you say, a Jameis Winston type of performance, that is one thing we've seen as a trend for him, is holding the ball too long. There was one play in particular that really stood out where I was surprised he took the sack, and I think they had to punt on the very next play. But he also has big playability, and we saw that too. So there were more highs and lows with him than the other guy you just mentioned, which was, I think, our biggest surprise of the night, was just how clunky Jake Haener looked. Yeah,
and getting into that, before we really dive into the Jake Haener performance in Game 1, we've been talking a lot about, look, Jake Haener has looked so good in the in the training camp practices. We needed to see him in preseason to see if we could solidify that and maybe even him becoming the backup quarterback. I think we learned today that no, it needs to be Jameis Winston. Is before we move to Jake Haener, is that everybody can agree on that?
Yeah, 100%.
That Jameis Winston's the backup.
Yeah, for sure. This doesn't diminish what I think of Haener, and actually I think it was good for him to come back and lead them on that touchdown drive in the final 2 minutes. That stuff all matters in the development of a player who wants to put that under his belt. But all along I felt like everything we like about Jake Haener, I think he's competing for the backup job in 2024, not 2023.
Yeah, and you're going to have to wait for the Jake Haener roller coaster. We're going to get to that later on in the show. We have a packed show from the first preseason game. There's a lot to get to. But for now, let's get to the Kendre Miller injury. He left during the game with what Dennis Allen said was a knee sprain, and they're going to go get imaging. What do we know about that, and how high is the concern right now?
Yeah, I checked with other sources. They said going into his scan that there's not a fear of a major injury. Now, you never know. You can go in there and something can come up, but typically if you have like a torn ACL, MCL, like usually coming off the field that one of those things have happened. It doesn't seem like that's a concern, so I think he just got banged up a little bit, and hopefully that's what's confirmed on the scans.
Yeah, sometimes a minor knee sprain can be a 3-week thing, though, and this would be a horrible time for him to have a 3-week thing, both because he would have gotten a ton of preseason work and snaps, and because he wanted to play a big role probably in the first 3 games where Alvin Kamara is out. So I think we all still have tremendously high hopes for what Kendre Miller can do here. But the combination of how good Alvin looked tonight and the fact that this could slow Kendre out of the gates a little bit kind of makes me, all the talk of, like, could there be a change in the guard early in the season? This if that's going to happen, that becomes more difficult now.
Speaking of the running backs, I don't know if we've seen Alvin Kamara look this good in a preseason game in recent years. I think a lot of it has to do with the quarterback, Derek Carr. What is it about Derek Carr that just makes Alvin able to just thrive in this offense?
Well, that screen pass was just well-timed, well-executed. Eric McCoy had a great block, like, to kind of get him out right in the middle of it. So it was just a really well-executed play. But, yeah, you need the quarterback. The quarterback needs to be able to deliver these short passes. That's been an issue, surprisingly, the last few years since Drew left, is just getting the ball out to Alvin in these places where he can take it and run into space. So that was a good thing. I think Alvin on his own, though, looked good. Just running the ball, hitting the edge. He had good bursts. He looked fast. But a 17-yard screen pass, like, it just hits a little bit differently because we haven't been seeing those in years. And it's just like, why hasn't this play happened? And that's, like, exactly what you're picturing. But I liked him. I like the way Jamal Williams runs, too. Like, I saw it a little bit more clearly out here than we've seen it at practice. And just some of his bursts and hitting the holes and all that stuff, I thought he looked pretty good, too. So if I actually had to, like, handicap the running back race, I think it is Alvin and then Jamal. And I think Kendre might actually, even before the injury, might have been running third in that group.
I don't want to read too much into the fact that they attempted to sign Kareem Hunt this week, too, that maybe they think that he might be, sort of a rookie season type of guy instead of an instant explosion type of guy. But I'm not gonna count anything out with it.
I don't know if I agree with. I think that's just them trying to have the strongest team possible. Sure. A coach, look, all their moves are just kind of like, we're gonna go get experienced people that can help right now, and it's kind of like, we're gonna solidify this and make sure we're gonna be the 10-win team. I don't know if I read into it as far as, like, some of these other guys. But look, if you're looking for an Alvin replacement, like, Kendre Miller doesn't have the proven pass catching ability like Kareem Hunt does. Like, so I think that was probably more along the lines of that. I don't want to, like.
No, of course. Yeah. I don't want to poop it. I'm just thinking back to that. We keep having what happened with Alvin in 2017 in the back of our minds, and I just think I'm a little less certain that something like that will happen, bursting onto the scene right away. But yeah, sky's still the limit.
Yeah, I mean, Alvin was a Hall of Famer, like, before Drew retired, and then the last couple of years, I think, kind of changed that conversation. Maybe not necessarily even because of him. Like, if he had a few more years with Drew, like, I think he's probably a definite Hall of Famer.
It was funny in this game. We actually talked about this throughout the flow of the game. Is what's going to be our moment? Like, there were several moments, and especially in the first preseason game with guys returning to the Superdome, actual great plays being made on that one drive. How do we pick one moment? And I think what we all came to was the fact that seeing that connection with Derek Carr and Michael Thomas start to develop, because we really haven't seen much of it in training camp. Michael Thomas just, I don't know if it's comfort, I don't know if it's him still getting used to his body or, like, getting back into it. He's close, but he's just not the same old Michael Thomas. Then we get out here in this preseason game, they make that connection, and it's, all right, that is our moment, presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. It was an easy one. We mentioned it earlier in the show, but why was it so special?
I just thought it was a great throw. Really, like Carr just put it in there where only Mike could get it. It took him to the ground. He made the catch. I think those are the plays that we're going to see Mike make. I think over the middle where he doesn't have to get a ton of separation. I think he's going to be okay there. I think he's going to make a killing on those plays still. It's kind of been more of the like up the sideline, outside the numbers, trying to create separation type plays that where you've seen a little bit more of like, I don't know, it's been like rickety a little bit, and not always necessarily just because of Mike. It feels like he's still figuring out how to play with Derek Carr,
Absolutely.
figuring out where they're going to put the ball. I think it's going to be a process, but I don't doubt Mike's going to contribute and be a good player for this team. It's just what level of Mike Thomas are they getting? And, I mean, at the top end, that's a really, really, really high bar. So, like, where does he fall on it? But I thought that was a good play, a good moment for him. If he can do that 3 times a game, like, you're cooking.
I did not ask Derek Carr about this, and I wish I had, but it read to me like one of those plays where it was a route that had an option or an adjustment to be made, because Carr threw it to a spot and Thomas went to a spot and left the defender on the dust on that. That felt exactly like we were seeing their connection.
He was
Carr
in his
described,
pocket, though.
What's that?
He was in his pocket.
No, I know, but where he threw the ball and where Thomas went down to catch it, like they created separation on the throw itself.
Yeah.
So it felt like they were on the same page, is what I mean by that. And it's funny when we were discussing the moment, because I told you I wrote this column where I broke down 3 plays that really stood out to me for different reasons, for what the offensive line did on one, for the adjustment him and Johnson made. And I was like, I kind of like that Johnson throw, which we just talked about. And then you guys, but like Carr throwing to Mike. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you mean the thing we talked about all February, March, April, May, June, July, and August that we couldn't wait to see? Seeing that, yeah, that was the moment of the day.
Speaking of things we were talking about in the press box, another thing Mike and I were talking about, how often we get put on the spot by fans, like, man, you guys have been talking about Chris Olave and Derek's Carr connection looking great. Chris Olave being the camp beast, like, what happened in the game? I'm like, no, he's still the camp beast. He's still proven that. And it was missed in this game. How, based on what you saw from that play, what happened on that? Was it a Chris Olave drop? Was it a Derek Carr miss? Both?
Yeah, I mean, it was a drop, but I mean, he was probably bracing for he was going to get hit right after he caught it. That play would have gained 2 yards if he would have caught it, unless he did something special. And that's not something we often see with him. So that happens every once in a while. But not seeing Olave again on the rest of the drive, I think we saw 5 big Alvin Kamara plays. We saw, Michael Thomas get open. We saw Juwan Johnson get open twice. And we saw Keith Kirkwood catch a touchdown pass. All of that can be attributed to the fact that there's a lot of guys to cover on this team. So if they're paying a lot of attention to Olave, good. Keith Kirkwood can have a touchdown.
Yeah, there were 8 passes. 2 of them were screens, so there's really 6 plays there. Like, it's just going to go like that sometimes in a 6-play sample. But Chris Olave is going to be the best player on this team.
He's going to his hometown, too. I'm sure
Best player on this team?
Oh.
Offensively, for sure.
Offensively.
Yeah, and I think he could be neck and neck with Marshawn at the end of it. No question about it. Yeah, I think so.
And he's going to be going back to his hometown. We know he's fired up for that, as well as some of the other guys who are from California. His family is going to be at the practices for Costa Mesa. It didn't necessarily, the camp that we've seen him in the last 14 days didn't necessarily translate on this field. Do we see it translating maybe in Costa Mesa between Derek Carr and Chris Olave in these joint practices?
Oh, Chris is going to go out there. He's going to eat. Yeah, I have no doubt about it. He's going to be the star of them practices.
Yeah, I mean, based on
Something
our sample size of every day so far, I'm going to say yes.
Based on talent, like it's no question.
If we could go off just a moment in a game that wasn't necessarily a play, Jimmy Graham, the first pass to him, I haven't heard this place that loud in a long time.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like
that was a cool moment.
Jimmy catches a pass, they're clapping. They say caught by Jimmy Graham. Place just erupt. I mean, it's cool. Those are the moments. Like, it's a cool moment. Like, it's sentimental. It taps into it. Saints fans get to celebrate a great that left in a way that was pretty unceremonious.
Yeah.
And for him to come back and have that moment, even if he never has it again, like that was an awesome moment.
It also got pretty loud during the wave. Me and Brooke are still. The wave takes too much heat. Me and Brooke joined in on the wave. That was
just a
that was
mini
during
wave.
the weak moments of the third quarter. But the thing about Jimmy Graham is he's still a work in progress. I was watching before the game though, and I was looking at the jerseys. I think Drew Brees is still the leading jersey out here. There's still the occasional Colston or whatever. Not a ton of current players who are just all over jerseys. You see a few DeMarios and a few. But there were a lot of Jimmy Graham jerseys. And I wonder how many of those people would have been wearing the Jimmy Graham jersey anyway because they wore it proudly for years and they owned it. Or how many of them are like, oh, where is it? I'm going up in the attic. I still have that one in the closet. Could not wait to wear that Jimmy Graham. I mean, he is he's on the S tier, as we learned about earlier this offseason. I didn't know about the S tier before. He's in the S tier of popular players.
I mean, the faces of the franchise were it was Sean Payton, Drew Brees, Jimmy Graham. Like, it really was. And I know people would want to put Colson on it. Like, Jimmy Graham was doing incredible things at a level that it was him and Gronk redefining the tight end position. That was, and I was from a distance. From a distance, Jimmy Graham was how you define this team along with those other two people. And then it was just holy shit, he's gone. It was just, that was one of the most unbelievable days, as a reporter, that hit. And it was that was the one time I was just kind of in my chair, what do I say? What is this real? What do you do? And I can't imagine how it hit, people that grew up loving this team. It was just one of those defining moments.
Yeah, a special moment for sure. But coming up, we break down rookie quarterback Jake Haener's debut at the Superdome. We get to our player of the game. That is a new segment for our game day shows. And who surprised us against the Chiefs? It was actually a young running back. We will get to all of that and much more after the break.
Now, at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company, get our $10.99 shrimp remoulade combos with zesty shrimp remoulade and fried shrimp or catfish for only $10.99. And did you hear? Soft-shelled crabs are back at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
Life is full of unexpected events, which can come with unplanned expenses. Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union has a variety of personal loan products to meet your needs. Whether it's treating yourself to something new, paying off an unexpected expense, or consolidating debt, we are here to help. With rates as low as 8.5% APR, a personal loan with Jefferson Financial can help. Don't let life's curveball impact your financial happiness. Apply today at jeffersonfinancial.org. Membership restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
At Toro, we were born for moments like this. From bringing new bundles of joy into the world, to delivering what new mothers need to stay healthy. Born to keep hearts beating strong, and to keep seniors active and healthy for years to come. Because at Toro, we deliver more than babies. From heart care to cancer care, and newborns to seniors. At Toro, we're born to care.
Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
I'll take a New Orleans Saints scratch up. Play New Orleans Saints from the lottery. Just scratch, fold, and punch your way to winnings. Punch your ticket with New Orleans Saints. Win up to $100,000. Enter our second chance drawings, giving you a season to smile.
Welcome back to the Dome for our mobile Turo Hospital studio. Turnovers have been an emphasis for the defense in training camp, and they picked off the Chiefs twice. How has Joe Woods really impacted and changed the look of this defense and now how they operate?
Well, I think he's bringing a mentality to it. And I was talking to him about this the other day, and it's just something about, you preach it and you just stay on it and you never let up on it. And it's about creating opportunities and then taking advantage of those opportunities. And we've seen it throughout camp. There's been more turnovers. It's going after the fumbles at the end of plays. It's just always making sure that you have that on the forefront of your mind. It's sort of like with the Celtics when Kevin Garnett was there, when someone would try to shoot a shot after a foul, after a whistle, he was going up and catching the ball like nobody was getting a free bucket on him in any situation. You kind of see that same mentality out of practice. Now you're seeing it spill into the game, so I think they're off to a good start for sure.
You're absolutely right about mentality, but there's two things that are more important. One is leading games. That would be nice if they would lead games once in a while. The other one that has disappeared a little bit in recent years is getting pressure up front. You disrupt the quarterback, you can force him into a mistake. And that first one, all the credit in the world goes to Alontae Taylor for tipping it, Ugo Amadi for picking it off. But DJ's favorite guy, the 6'5" Gerber baby, Brian Brzee, the first-round draft pick they brought in to do just that, was in the face of that quarterback, broke through. Really, the two offensive linemen who were both trying to block him almost backed into the quarterback and made him throw that bad pass. If we can see the defensive line, I'm We keep trying to not get overexcited about the flashes we're seeing from them. But that'll make the biggest difference in the world if they get that defensive line back to being disruptive.
How about the flash of Marcus May? I was really impressed with that pass breakup early on in the game. It seems like the chemistry is really building with Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus May. How do they look to you guys?
Yeah, I like that. It was Paulson Adebo and Marcus May on first down and third down on that 3-and-out series. Just open field all by themselves, making a big impact play. Love to see that. I mean, we've talked a lot about the starting offense. Offense sells tickets, but the starting defense was damn near just as efficient, especially on that 4th-and-1 stuff.
Yeah, I don't think we've talked about Marcus May enough this whole entire camp. He's looked explosive. He looks faster. He looks healthy. I mean, that's the thing people forget. He was coming back from an Achilles last year. He's looked better throughout this camp. See it in this game. I think Tyrann's playing really well. And, yeah, that 4th down stop, too. Like, let's not let that one just go under the radar. Pete Werner with a great anticipation on the play. Just saw the hole, got in there, stopped it. And then Zach Bond and on the gang tackle. So it was a good play for the defense for sure.
Credit Colin Saunders on that one, too. The two linebackers got around the corner to make sure the running back got down, but the running back could not run up the middle because it's tough to see everyone who was in there. Looked like Nathan Shepard was probably part of that mix, too. Carl Granderson was on the line there in the area. Colin Saunders I definitely saw get pushed right from the very beginning, and no room for that running back to run on that play. Big play by him on it.
Look, we could spend all day on a lot of these topics, so we're going to rapid fire through a couple of things to the defense. So just a quick one-hitter, what you thought about it. Let's start with the run defense. Go.
Oh, I thought the run defense was great, and, I mean, that's it right there. They need to be way better at that. Very, very small sample size, but I thought that was a very good start.
Nick did a stock up, stock down. I can't remember if Pete Werner made the cut on stock up, but he was a guy that we've said we're not seeing flash plays from him in camp, but they're not tackling yet. As soon as it was time to start tackling, we saw him look like Pete Werner of last year in this game.
What about the cornerback battle? To me, I didn't necessarily learn anything new. To me, it's still Lattimore and Adebo. Would you guys agree or disagree?
Well, I saw Alontae Taylor give up some big plays today, but they were out of the slot, so I'm not sure how that impacts the outside. It probably doesn't. I asked DA that specific question. Do you evaluate it as like one guy, or basically like do you separate it into two categories? He said he separates it, so I don't think that impacts that overall. But if Paulson Adebo was ahead before, he's probably still ahead now.
That last sentence is mine, too. I mentioned the big play he made to start that 3-and-out. The defense was dominant while he's in there, not just because of him, but if he was the starter and the defense looked like this with him out on the field, they're not changing that unless something dramatically changes.
Look, it wasn't Zach Bond or DeMarco Jackson next to Pete Werner. It was Nephi Sewell. How in the world has that flown under the radar, and how did he look out there with Pete Werner, with Demario Davis out with injury?
I'll give Nick credit so he doesn't have to. Nick's been on Nephi Sewell's bandwagon since last year, but, yeah, he's slowly
said he'd start this game too.
Yeah, good thing, bad thing. Like I said, the first week of camp, DeMarco Jackson was starting ahead of him. The second week of camp, Nephi Sewell started to take that over to where it's almost been a daily occurrence as a starter. The only negative is during that same week that Nephi Sewell became the starter, they also brought in Anthony Bass for a workout and then signed Jalen Smith. So he's not getting a free ride to that number 3 linebacker spot.
I know you're waiting to talk about this one. Sorry to skip over you, Nick. Peyton Turner.
My guy. He did not disappoint. I was a little worried, like all those spin moves and swim moves and stunts and twists. Like maybe that just looks cute in practice when they're not. I like even pulled you guys over to show the replay of the one where he got to the quarterback by doing like all 3 of those things on one play. It has to translate down in and down out, and he mostly worked with the second string tonight. But the same things that we've been watching through binoculars on the practice field, I saw again on a couple flash plays tonight.
Is the best special teams guy we can say Ryan Connolly after that game?
He had a great game there, and if he's going to make the team, he needs to make plays in that phase of the game. He had some good plays on defense, too. He needs to just stack that sheet, but it's going to be tough for anyone to make the team at linebacker, so he's doing the things he needs to do. If Jalen Smith is in that mix, that's one less spot there. So if it's Nephi Sewell, DeMarco Jackson, Jalen Smith, like all of a sudden, like there's not room for a 7th guy. So he's going to have to beat somebody out by proving he can do it on special teams.
There are a lot of special teams only spots available on this team, though. Like 3 of their top 5 special team snaps guys last year. So it could be an extra linebacker if it's because of special teams. 2 other guys, DeMarco Jackson, penalty on the very first kickoff, but then a huge hit on the first kick coverage. And Kwan Baker, who I don't think any of us are going to put him on the projected 53, but I think he made the best special teams play of the night to keep that punt from going inbounds. And that is the kind of play you can make in the preseason. I think more important than anything he did on offense if he wants to open their eyes and be like, is there a spot for him if he's going to make plays like that in punt coverage?
All right, let's get back to the offense, and it brings up our Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Silly Burrito, that is the Twitter handle. We get some pretty wild at names in here, but Silly Burrito says,
You pick them.
Question, I don't pick their at names, I pick the question. Anyways, he said, question for the show, if Kendre Miller is hurt, do the Saints need to chase after a Kareem Hunt or Leonard Fournette or stick with Ellis Merriweather? Personally, before I kick it to you guys, Ellis Merriweather proved that he can be somebody that can be a viable backup running back on this team.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. He looked great today,
Yeah,
and you've been on, his stock rising since OTAs. Like, we did our Dark Horse episode, and he was somebody that you brought up in there. So you spotted that before, like, I even knew the guy was on the team. So shout out to you for that. Great eye. If you have an injury, though, and you can solidify it by going out and getting somebody like Kareem Hunt, like that can go and give you 700 yards from scrimmage over the course of a season, I might go with the high-end guy just so that there's nothing left to chance. But, I mean, if Ellis keeps doing this, like, maybe. I don't know.
Credit to Brooke. I'm not going to take your credit away. You were on Ellis Merriweather. He can be my third running back, though. You cannot go into week one with Jamal Williams and Ellis Merriweather. And the good news for the Saints is if Kareem Hunt does sign it, all of a sudden the Saints reminded everyone that he was still available. He's gone visit another team every day this week. If Kareem Hunt's not available, well, there's like 18 running backs who have made Pro Bowls still out of work. It's the craziest position in the league. So if for some reason Kendre Miller is not playing in week one and Alvin Kamara suspended, I would almost guarantee there's a veteran in the mix.
I mean, regardless, I think Ellis Merriweather made a good step forward as far as trying to make the 53-man roster. To me, he looked incredible and took advantage of an opportunity with Kendre Miller being out with injury. And me and Brandon actually had a chance to go talk with him in postgame, and his story is really incredible, coming from UMass, and you could feel just how excited he was to get this opportunity and also kill it in his first preseason game with the Saints.
It still don't even feel real, I got my people back at UMass. They sending me videos of how everybody was getting hyped when I scored. They stopped meetings. They're in fall camp getting ready to play on week 0. They stopped meetings to watch me play. So it just made me feel good, when the crowd start roaring when I scored the touchdown. Like, it felt good, man. I don't even know how to feel.
Merriweather wasn't the only rookie shining in the Saints' first preseason game. A.T. Perry did not let the lights get too bright. He is our player of the game, presented by Hard Hide Strawberry Whiskey. Perry has been kind of quiet for the majority of training camp, but when he needed to prove it, he did it with the second team, which I think is even more impressive that he looked that good with Jameis Winston and that second-string offensive line. He was comfortable and led the team in receiving yards for the first game.
An eye-opener for me. I mean, just having him in there where he was in the pecking order. I mean, like, veterans like Brian Edwards and James Washington were playing behind him, and he took advantage of that moment. Tough catches, consistent catches. As I correctly predicted on Twitter, I think I said something like, Dennis Allen will probably use him as an example. Right thing in the press conference. I don't like him reaching for the goal line and losing control of the ball. But really, like, it's possible he improved his stock in this game as much as any one player did, just improving their stock in one game.
Yeah, I got it. Chris Olave, Mike Thomas, Rashid Shaheed, Traquan Smith, and I think I got AT fifth at this point. I don't know that I think I probably would have had Kirkwood ahead of him coming into this game. Him being a rookie, putting on this type of game, it makes it really, really hard to maybe sneak him through. Somebody's going to take notice of that. He might have done well enough, and we often overrate the players we're watching closely and think, well, he'll never clear waivers, but he's somebody that had a lot of hype around him coming into the league. He dropped for off-field stuff. If people see him performing and just kind of doing what he needs to do, he's a hard player to cut and get through to the practice squad. So I think he might have done enough today to make the team. He's going to have to, like, really regress if for that
Making
to not
the
happen.
team is one step. Being an active receiver on game days is the next step.
Yep.
He could be sort of in that inactive redshirt spot. Keith Kirkwood, on the other hand, is the kind of guy that you can pass through waivers, or he's a veteran, so
standard elevation.
That you talk to him and you say, Keith, we're going to cut you, but then once we put some guys on some lists, don't go anywhere. Keith Kirkwood's not going anywhere. He might be on the practice squad. He might be inactive. He's going to play 11, 12 games. And you're reminded why. I mean, he's stepped in and done really good work in the slot while Shaheed and Smith have been hurt, and then he catches that touchdown pass. He's just, like, get used to him being part of this team. He's part of this team. He really is, I think.
Is A.T. Perry making your early 53?
Yeah. He's always been on my 53, but like I said, the distinction for me is, are they just holding the spot where he's, like, inactive all the time? And they're saving him for the future, or is he going to actually get into that top 4 and be making plays on game day? This made me think maybe the latter is possible.
Well, speaking of rookies, we're finally at the Jake Haener segment. He was money at the end of the game, capitalizing off a Kyle Phillips interception. He led the game-winning drive and is our money segment presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Haener wasn't money all game, though. I won't give him that.
No, look, he's probably a prisoner of expectations to some degree. Like, he looked really good in camp when things are clean. Nobody's rushing him. There's really no pressure from the defensive line, pressure externally. It's just a very clean, controlled situation. And he went out there and he would execute. He comes into this situation, the lights are on, there's people coming at him, there's pressure to perform. And I thought he wilted a little bit under the circumstance. You saw some moments of him coming back. But, I'm significantly lower on him right now than I was going into the game. It's one game. He can improve that, but I think, it was as underwhelming as it possibly could have been considering how well he's played in camp. So some of that is out of respect to what he's done in these practices. So the downside to it is created by the upsides he's shown us, but it was low, man.
Mm-hmm.
It was not what I wanted to see from him at all.
Well, yeah, and low on him because the things we've liked about him, poise, command of the offense, cool under pressure, everything just looks – that smooth word I was saying again, that looked anything but smooth, and it really did take me by surprise. I mean, you could say, oh, well, he's with the third-string offensive line, he's throwing to the third-string receivers. That's what he's been doing all camp.
Yeah.
I think maybe one of the things we expected to see and did see was Trevor Penning staying in after the other starting 4 on the offensive line were removed. Did we learn anything about Trevor Penning in this game?
I watched every one of his snaps, and there were some good run blocks where he's 5 yards down the field, just, finally letting go of a guy long after the whistle is dead, which he's known to do in the run game. His pass protection snaps were pretty good. He helped give Carr time on that touchdown. Carr had a lot of time on that throw. I'd say he did have the penalty, but it wasn't an egregious penalty. I'd say it was solid. He didn't blow me away oh, this guy looks ready for week 1, but continuing the progression that we've seen. And again, just great to see him out there for 20 snaps that he's been healthy enough to do this.
I mean, I hate the penalties, though. I mean, just clean it up. Just don't have it. That was one thing last year. Just don't have it. Don't have that self-inflicted wound. Overall, though, I thought he looked okay. Like Mike said, I think it's going to take time. Let's see it. Let's see what he does in Costa Mesa. Let's just see how he keeps building on this.
Yeah, we'll see if he does continue to build that. We will be on the plane Wednesday to Costa Mesa, but the Saints are back at practice Tuesday. We will have all of your practice updates on NewOrleans.Football, and we'll see you guys next time.
And don't forget, next time will be Thursday from Costa Mesa.